What's up, guys? YST here, and welcome back to the free-to-play series. We are now on episode 15, and although we haven't got him here on the right, he's definitely here. We've got Eharbad on the channel finally. How's it going, bro?
Yeah, good, thank you. Always the faceless one, so.
So, are you a big fan of the champion faceless from the Knights Rev?
Well, actually, I did use him in my first ever Night Rev clear, and he is actually really strong for Stage 21, and you can use him in Arena against certain tanky comps, but not really, is the answer. Yeah. So, he has a use.
So basically, whenever I've asked who should I get on the channel and all of that good stuff, your name has always sprung up, right? So do you just want to introduce yourself a little bit to my viewers, I guess, so we can send them over to the channel and check out your free-to-play journey as well?
Yeah, certainly. So I've been playing Raid since original lockdown, so like March 2020, which I think is a similar situation for quite a lot of people who have been around the game for a while. And I've always been free to play, and it was kind of a choice early on just because I wanted to. Well, initially I wasn't going to play the game that long. I thought I'll just do it during first lockdown, and then we'll go back to real life, etc. And over time got sucked in, and nearly 3 years later, and I'm still playing this. Yeah. So that obviously didn't happen as planned. But in terms of being free to play, I mainly ended up that way because I just enjoyed the challenge of having that slight disadvantage and seeing how much I could compete or complete things whilst having that little handicap.
Yeah, so would you say so now you're coming, you already was free to play and now you're coming into another free to play. Do you find yourself doing anything a little bit different, or maybe learn from the mistakes from the first one that you kind of picked up on? Or are you just kind of tackling it in the same way that you did on your other one?
I would say I definitely have learnt things over the years, and I've, when I first played, I'd never actually played another gacha game or any of these kind of, should we say, idle or auto battling kind of games. So I didn't really know what to do or what was going on that much. So I wouldn't say I was super efficient. I also wasn't that active really the first month or so.
Yeah.
And I kind of slowly over time got more into it and understood the strategy involved, and then sort of learned the ways of min-maxing within the game. But also the game's completely changed in that time. We didn't have advanced quests, we didn't have Doom Tower, we didn't have all these other areas of the game where you can get resources and you can you can accelerate your progression so much more now than you could 3 years ago. And I haven't made other accounts during that time. I haven't been someone who's done sort of, a new account every year and kind of refined the process. So I would say I definitely did better this time than the first time around, but I've learned from this experience. And if it was something we repeated again in 2024, I'd definitely approach it quite differently.
Yeah, it's true. Like when we first started, I'd say there was no Forge in here, there was no Ultra Souls, there was no Guardian Ring, and even the Faction Wars, it came out a little bit after when I started anyway. And it's just all of these new things to consider. And for me, I thought I could just powerhouse through everything, and then we hit that energy crusher where you're sitting there and you don't have no energy. You got to try and go around and do missions and quests and challenges. And for me, it's I'm a little bit of an impatient player, I guess. I like to, especially with the challenger mindset of what we've got going on with the free-to-play challenge, I always just want to be on the top of the leaderboards. And then I realized that people like Neva and all of these guys are way above me. And I'm like, all right, let me just relax a little bit now. But yeah, so basically what I've done is I've actually got your account here, which is on the HH website. For all of the challenges, by the way, guys, if you want to check out in the description below. Alongside, go and subscribe to Eharbad. He's one of the best channels from the Raid community. It'll all be linked below. So at the moment, you've got 2 6-star, 3 6-star champions now. Okay.
Yeah, 3 6-star, and kind of slowly working towards having enough food for the 4th, as we have the champion training event that started today.
Yeah.
But I don't really have a clear candidate for that 4th 6-star. I mean, Frozen Banshee is probably the best other champion within my roster. But given that I don't have a great clan boss composition overall, I'm lacking key things like decreased attack. I don't really have decreased defense for a clan boss. I don't have increased defense. There's a lot of things I'm missing. Okay. Even if I get that Frozen Banshee, it would probably bridge the gap to be able to transition to Brutal. I do not have the champions to go to Nightmare yet. So I'm undecided as to what exactly I'm going to end up doing at this point.
Okay,
I'm
so
probably good.
we was on stream, right? With Hades and all of the other challenges, and we seen how many shards you had, and you had something like, what was it, 2 or 3 sacreds, like 40 ancient shards. So you're pretty stacked, right?
Yeah, like right now it's about 40 ancients, 7 voids, and
Mm-hmm.
I got my third sacred today for fusing Justicia and
Okay.
doing that page of the missions.
Yeah.
And basically, well, we've got 2x voids next weekend
Yeah.
with the fusion. So my hope overall is that in the fusion there'll be 2 or 3 epics that are interesting.
Yeah.
Plus we'll have the 2x void that will overlap with it. So that will be when I'll be pulling those void shards. And essentially I'm kind of hoping that we'll get something to propel the account forward. And
Yeah.
then obviously I'm already keeping in mind that we've got 2x ancients essentially in 3 weeks. My aim is to have enough ancients by then that I can at least get the first legendary tome from the champ chase, which is
Okay.
usually around 60 ancients you need
Yeah.
with average RNG. And from 60 ancients in a 2x, realistically, I should end up with 9 or 10 epics and maybe a legendary. You never know. So I think like that's basically what I'm working towards
Yeah.
is to be in a place to transform the account in 3 weeks' time, between
Okay.
1 and 3 weeks' time,
Yes.
rather than just sort of run ahead and try and compete on the leaderboards right now. It's kind of about building towards where we'll be, 6 weeks into the account or 2 months into the account.
Yeah, it's definitely a good perception of it and like taking that different route because someone like me, we've had that YOLO mentality. And I wanted to ask you, have you found it so hard not to just yeet your shards when you're seeing everyone get legendary champions and epics and you want these core champions, like you said, the decrease attack, the increased defenses, these things that really are crucial in the clan boss. And is it really hard, like the willpower? Because I have to commend you for it. Because the only reason I started YOLOing is because I seen everyone else doing it. I was doing pretty well before that.
It is
Yeah.
definitely difficult, and I'd say, I guess really the 2x sacreds was the tricky one because in general 2x sacreds is a good time
Mhm.
to pull those sacred shards. We generally had 2 or 3, and we are quite starved of champions, and some people had crazy luck, in the first week of having these accounts.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's definitely a bit of an issue. But on the flip side, I would say up until now, I don't feel like I've been that limited by having a smaller roster. Like I've been able to progress pretty much as quickly as I can, purely based on the maximum amount of energy we've had and the kind of general gear we have.
Yeah.
So like that's going to be a limit, irrespective of whether I had 2 more great champions. I'm still capped out by gear and energy to be able to actually invest in those champions. I'd say right now I'm probably beginning to feel it, but up
Yeah.
until now I hadn't.
Yeah, 100%. So, looking forward, like, what's your main goal? Like, for me personally, it's trying to get to Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss in like one of the fastest times, and that's kind of what I'm leading towards. But I'm definitely in the same boat as you, where we've got the champions, we've got the compositions, we're just trying to like farm the food, get the gear, because the gear I always say, but especially Clan Boss, is like 70% of what you need, right? You need the defense stats, you need the accuracy, and all of these things like do play into it, right? So it's not as simple as I first thought, I guess. So what is your kind of aim goal? Are you trying to get to Ultra Nightmare first? Are you trying to do the faction wars? Because at the end of the day, it is kind of a challenge, right? And you want to be first to get somewhere. Um,
Yeah, but
yeah,
ultimately you can only be directed based on the champions you get,
yeah,
right? So what I'll end up pushing hard for will be dependent on what I get really from that 2x void and the 2x ancients that come
hmm,
after it. That's going to really define the account.
yeah,
Overall, I have a goal to progress as quickly as possible within faction wars,
hmm,
but that's because I'm prioritizing getting to high end materials for perception. Like that's my main goal.
yeah,
Because if I can get a lot of 5, 6 star pieces on perception and start crafting those as quickly as possible, that will ultimately help my account in, say, that 2 to 4 month time frame.
yeah,
And we know how important that gear is for Doom Tower and for Hydra, right?
yeah,
And there's so much materials and even champions hidden within those areas of the game. Getting Mithrala early would be enormous.
Yeah, so in terms of, so now you've got all of these shards, assuming that you was planning to go for a fusion, and we do have Owella coming up, and she's going to be a traditional style one. Do you think that's something that you want to complete? And if you do you think it's possible to complete it?
So my intention was, if they were a good champion and it was a fragment, I would go for it.
Okay.
But because it's not a fragment, you basically are going to give up about an entire 6-star worth of food farm to do a traditional fusion, just in terms of, ranking up all the rares and ranking up the epics, etc. Like you're completely sacrificing an
Yeah.
entire 6-star there, plus all of those potions, right? Before you're farming stage 20, those are a massive drain. So the answer is no, and I don't think she's actually worth it for our accounts. I don't think she brings enough. Like she's not really going to revolutionize my account in any particular area of the game.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I was thinking the same thing. Like, even on my main account, I tend to only go for the fragment ones unless it's like a no-brainer champion. Like, if Pythium was a traditional one, I still would have went for it in a sense, if that makes sense. But
100%.
the fragment ones, I feel like you can double dip so much resources, right? Like, when you're doing your champion training events and champion training tournaments, you don't have to worry about ranking up all the champions and for the actual fusion itself, because you can focus on your actual roster that you've got instead of the champions needed for the fusion champion, right? So I guess this early doors, I can see what you're talking about. It is really hard, man.
And the only kind of champion that I would say would be worth going for a traditional fusion for us at this point would be someone like a Helicat. If you're going to get a single champion that's basically going to unlock Ultra Nightmare for you, then it's probably worth burning pretty much every resource we have to do it.
Yeah.
But this champion, Owella, is not that champion. So I'm just hoping that the epics are interesting. If we can get 2 or 3 epics, even if they're not, say, clan boss specialists, if they bring something to help either progress, faction wars, Doom Tower. There's so many roles that I don't have on my account right now. These epics could be big for me. Obviously, you've been lucky with Pythion, who is a huge champion. But for most other people, having a cleanser or someone that brings a 2-turn block debuffs is really critical, particularly for like Doom Tower waves, right? It's really important.
Yeah, I definitely
want to go down the hard side.
Yeah, so this fusion, like, I guess, like, the way I'm sitting anyway is I'm thinking I'm probably, depending whatever the epic is, I'm still going to go for it regardless, because having that extra champion in your roster is actually really strong for places like the faction wars, right? And I feel like to get at least one epic champion, it shouldn't be too hard, right? As long as we just stay on a few tournaments and events, try and double dip with some of those and get some resources in the same time. I don't see why not to at least go for the rares or the epics, depending on how many there is, right? But yeah, hopefully there'll be a strong round there. Go on.
Yeah, if you think how they've typically been recently, right? They most likely it will be 16 copies of the same rare.
Yeah.
That's fairly likely. And if that is the case, then it's so easy to pick up 2, maybe even 3 epics and a copy of the rare without having to really go that far out of our way.
Yeah, 100%. So right now on your Doom Tower progression, whereabouts have you got to so far where you're like, ooh, this is starting to kind of be hard? Because you do have an ally protector, right? And you do have an AoE stun champion and miscreated monster, who's a huge carry. A bit underrated nowadays, I'd say. Has he been like huge for you in getting through those floors?
Oh, massive. Like, without him, I wouldn't be able to get through. But then without him, in theory, I'd have a different champion. So you'd have to have someone. Like, there's so many champions in the game. It's always the case of whichever the best champion you've pulled is the one that's going to carry your account.
Yeah, it's
but
crazy.
You have to pull someone, right?
Do you know what it is? Like, miscreated monster, I feel like he doesn't get as much use nowadays, because like once you get to stage, let's just say 25 on the spider, 9 times out of 10 you're probably speed farming it with double cold hearts and stuff like that. But when you're actually progressing in spider, somebody like miscreated monster, that shield is huge, the fears on his passives, and there's just so much to his kit that's universally used, right? And he's actually somebody I would really want as well. I just want everything.
Yeah. No, 100%. Like he'll be massive for progressing from Spider 10 to 20. Be really important for me in like Scarab and in as you say, in general waves. Really, really, really powerful. What's nice in the Doom Tower side is because we're not actually expending any resources. I can rerun them until I get lucky on the stuns, and that's
Yeah.
basically the only way I've been able to get through them. So I've cleared Magma 60 today,
Oh,
um,
nice. Yeah.
and that at least I can auto farm that. So that's
Yeah.
actually quite nice. So we can start to get some good amount of like fatal gear,
Yeah. Or Fatal
the 5-star
Gear.
stuff.
Do you know what? Like, Fatal Gear is something that I've never used on my main account, but you definitely feel the value on a free-to-play. Like, getting those extra crit rate buffs earlier on and potentially moving into crit damage gauntlets on your nuker is actually something that I'm considering now, because if you can get a full set of Fatal on, like, one of your nuke champions, which we're going to speak about in a second, in Gembo, is actually something that I'm going to be using a lot, because champions like Gembo, who is free at the moment using the Prime Rewards, I'm not sure if you've managed to get yours yet.
I'm saving it for a champion chase.
Yeah, so if we actually, I wanted to ask you this question because I'm not sure. Let's just finish this run here. Come on, Hexweaver, get out of here. Give me that 3-star, 2-star. I don't have any more Spirit Lizardmans. There we go. Take a speed lift. So if we head in here, I actually claimed up my Prime Rewards, which we are allowed to do during this free-to-play Challenger series, guys, for anyone that's not aware. And so if I leave it in my inbox here, like, that's a bad thing, right? Because right now we've got a Summon Rush, and now this is going to expire in 6 days and force me to claim it. Right?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
You jumped the gun a bit.
I thought it would say, like, do you know when it says 99 days or something for like this?
But even then, I don't think you get the champion chase points from your inbox. I think you only get it from when you actually acquire the champion.
Oh, really? See, I've never
I believe so.
Yeah, so I've never actually dabbled into this sort of referrals, promo code sort of stuff on my main account, so I wasn't too sure. But it is there now. But now that we have got him, I guess, like, if we just want to speak about Gembo really quickly for anybody that is getting him. So champions like Gembo brings a crit rate buff and a crit damage buff, meaning that we only need 70% crit rate on this champion, right? He's going to lead through with the A2 ability, very hard smacking, and he's the void affinity, meaning that you can't get those weak hits, right? Unless they're under, like, reaction or something. So stuff like the fatal gear, like we was talking about earlier, I'll bring in an example of Marked. I got pieces like this, like double roll speed, we got crit rate in there, 5-star, and this was simply by farming the faction, the Doom Tower stages, guys, by going in here. Boom, boom, boom. Magma Dragon that you actually start to get, if you look in the rewards info, from stage 50 of the Celestial Griffin, we start to enable the epic resources. And this is what Eharbad was just talking about, in being able to farm these with your silver keys every single day, getting those resources to go into the forge and get these gear pieces is actually huge for players, right?
Yeah, it's massive.
Yeah.
And I did spend a bit of time thinking, do I want Guardian or Fatal?
Mm-hmm.
And I ultimately decided I'd lean towards Fatal for now.
Yeah.
Partly because it's a 2-piece set.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I think it'll be easier to get 2 good pieces than to try and build full Guardian sets. And plus, for Guardian to really get its value, I think I need stronger champions, with higher defense levels and higher HP levels. I do think Guardian will be really handy for us, particularly as we don't have like a lot of regen yet, because Fire Knight's quite hard, and whereas farming Griffin I think is easier than farming the Fire Knight.
100%.
And it kind of, I know if you think like as a solo champion, it's kind of like budget regen.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about it, putting it on Pythion, so that's where I'm kind of caught between, because right now in Arena, I don't have the damage, right? And stuff like Fatal is actually very, very strong, especially in preparation for Gembo, because you only need 70% crit rate. I've actually got these really cool crit damage gauntlets. I'm not sure if I've shown anyone properly yet, but if I just move myself out the way, we've got a double crit rate roll on a 6-star crit damage piece, right? And something like this paired with Fatal, even though this is an off-piece set, I think I can make a really strong Gembo for my account, and then I don't have to worry about the nuke abilities at all, right? And then I can start moving stuff like Guardian sets onto somebody like Pythion, so when I start getting into Nightmare and Ultra Nightmare, we can absorb some of that damage dealt by 10% and also heal himself. So I feel like I was going to put it on Rogi, right? But the issue is, because we got such underdeveloped great halls at the moment, the base stats just aren't there for me. So I feel like he's already getting smacked as it is in these stats. Like 37,000 HP is not a lot. So I'll probably put Guardian on somebody without ally protection for now, even though that's breaking the rule of thumb. And then probably just leave him in like a lifesteal set or something like that for now. But
I mean, I personally think that would make sense because you're
Yeah,
kind of sharing the burden. Like you say,
yeah,
we just don't have the stats to
yeah,
stack out a single champion to the point that they can just hard carry everything. So
yeah,
it's kind of like it's balancing all of that. And
yeah,
that's I think what's going to take. I think some people are maybe underestimating how long it will take to get Ultra Nightmare on a steady farm. And
yeah.
it's just purely gear. Like
Even
it's just getting the quality of gear to do it.
yeah, even me and Deadwood, I'm not sure if you've seen it. We've actually got a little bet going on. So basically, he's saying by day 30 he wants to be at Ultra Nightmare, and I'm like, we've got a competition going on where if he wins after sending him a Genzin mask, you just have to do a 4-key Ultra Nightmare, and then if I win, I get a DeadwoodJedi hat, right? And if he's saying day
Yeah.
30, I'm starting to poop my pants a little bit, if I'm honest, because I don't think I can, like, as you said, the gear is like more than the champions right now. Like, be able to get the masteries on, making sure that you could speed tune, right? You need to get into the faction wars and get the glyphs in order to speed tune. And it's not even just the speed, you need to be able to sustain, right? Because Ultra Nightmare, with these stats that we got at the moment, we're going to be dead almost by like turn 10, right? Like at the very best, I guess.
At best.
Yeah, and especially for me, like with Deadwood, he's got a Jar Egg with a default skill of decrease attack, right? And then he's also, I think he's got another one that brings it in Venom Age. So he does have that back to back to keep it up consistently. Whereas with me, Taragi the Frog only has a 40% chance A1. But I do have a Coffin Smasher. I do have one. But do I have the resources to be investing in him for simply a decreased attack that Taragi does bring? And that's kind of where I'm stuck at the moment. So I'm probably going to go with Marked because she does have a block debuffs and increased defense to keep me affinity friendly with a Pythion. So I feel like she'll be like a no-brainer for me at the low cost of the rare books that I've already done.
Like you say,
Yeah,
because Taragi's got a relatively low percentage chance to make
yeah,
that consistent, you really want to be 2-for-1, right? You want White Whale.
yeah,
But getting the gear to run the speeds required, like you're at least a little bit lucky because you got the leech, you have the deacon, right?
yeah.
Whereas say for the rest of us who didn't get deacon to start with,
Yeah,
like I'm looking at my roster and I don't have decreased attack. I don't have really a decreased defense even champion for clan boss
yeah,
or a weaken or increased defense. I do have technically allied protection in Miscreated, but it's not really bringing anything else for clan boss, and it's not really a clan boss champion anyway. And
yeah,
I'm looking at like, okay, I also haven't got speed lead or speed booster
yeah.
clan
Joyce,
boss
for me, I
or
actually,
leech, so I've got like nothing.
yeah, I actually felt like I didn't want to use Deacon, if I'm honest. I actually wanted to have a Skull Crusher in there, which I just obviously that's just dreaming too big because I felt like creating a 1-to-1 ratio speed tune and consistently proccing Taragi's decreased attack and having the 2 ally protections and a Guardian Tip Pythion would actually be my key to get into Ultra Nightmare. But of course, there's only 3 AoE counterattack champions in the game, so. But for you in your situation, hopefully once you summon those shards, I'm pretty sure you should get one really cool. And obviously, I'm just a YOLO mentality at the moment, so I like to just summon shards when we got a guest on. Let's just do some ancients. We're gonna get broke, guys. All right. Oh no, epic champions. Who we get? Oh, pretty good one. Mother Superior.
Mother Superior is not too bad. Like,
Yeah,
she has her uses. But
yeah,
yeah, it's one of those things. I was looking already, actually. There aren't that many void champions for traditional clan boss teams, like in the epic category.
yeah,
So next weekend probably won't really transform me in a clan boss side, unless obviously you get like a man-eater or a Demither, etc. Side of the unkillable stuff, which I actually would rather not do.
mm-hmm.
It's kind of, you end up with this situation where we've got kind of competition going.
Yeah.
So if I did pull a Demither or a man-eater, I'd obviously have to
I don't
go
think
down that path.
I'm actually making the promise to myself that even if I pull the best unkillable champions in this Challenger series, I actually felt that one of the rules should have been that we cannot use unkillable to get to Ultra Nightmare. That's what I felt anyway. Because it's just so like, you know what I mean? It's just a cheat code. Like if you pull a man-eater and a painkeeper, it's finished. Like
Yeah, I actually agree. I think
Yeah.
in retrospect, not having the roulette for the starters and
Yeah.
just having a no unkillable rule would have been more interesting.
Yeah. Because it kind of sways your opinion, right? Because let's just say someone like DeadwoodJedi or whoever that may be pulls a Demither. He's already got the Elva. He's already got the champions he needs is for the 10 meter boost. And he just literally has to put unkillable champion in there. Boom. And it's the same thing with me. If I pulled like a Demither as well, I can make a Deacon Demither team with an Heiress and just farm her up. But the thing is, would I really want to do that? I don't. I think for the challenger's sake, I wouldn't. But usually, I'd recommend that for all players to obviously make it easier for yourself. But do you know? I'm not sure if you remembered, but I actually didn't start with Deacon. I started with Mordecai. I pulled the Deacon.
I can't actually remember, but
Yeah. Yeah, I got pretty
I
lucky
guess
with
that
him. Yeah.
in some ways that's even luckier.
Yeah. I'm just trying to make myself not look lucky here. Oh god. But was there anything here that you just wanted to touch upon? Maybe some top tips from, because obviously you're, in my personal opinion, you're probably the best free-to-play player out there with efficiency and stuff like that. Is there anything you would kind of give advice to players and maybe a short format of stuff to look out for, stuff not to do, and maybe like a top 3 pointers or something?
Well, I'd say the top three, ironically, number one is don't compete against other people. Because if you want to enjoy a free to play experience, it's where you only compete against yourself, because then you don't get sucked into being like, oh, they have the shiny toy, oh, they got lucky, they got the legendary, and then you end up kind of almost ruining your account by pulling all your shards
Yeah.
and getting nothing. So like that's one side of things. And yeah, some people, if you look across, 1,000 people that started these free to play experience, these challenge accounts, right? There'll be, say, 100 of them got really lucky. And
Yeah.
then how many of the people that got really unlucky just stopped playing those accounts?
Yeah.
We'll not know, but like I would say that that's quite likely. People like HellHades got really unlucky, but he'll just carry on because he's in the challenger group.
Yeah.
But at the same token, he did the YOLO. It worked for you and Deadwood, but it doesn't work for everyone. And then when it doesn't work, what's your fallback? You don't have any fallback because you can't acquire more shards.
Yeah.
So I think you'd have to be really careful, particularly when you don't have that many champions, to try and make sure that you use your very limited resources in such a way that you at least can put yourself on a footing to be able to get more.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. Like, even for me, like, I got pretty lucky with the 2x sacreds. I'd say at the very least, if you do have a bit of mentality of wanting to summon your shards and stuff like that, at least save them for 2x events at the very least. Don't just do it midweek like some of us are here and there. I feel like the 2x events, you're doubling your chances, right? Coincided with the champion chase and the summon rush tournaments and stuff like that. And really trying to get the most for what you're putting in, right?
Yeah. And then number two, Dungeon Divers is bait. It's always bait. Like the amount of resources required to complete or even get far in Dungeon Divers it's the worst value tournament/event I think in the game, personally.
Oh,
And so
really?
I would always,
Okay.
yeah, like like the amount of points you get per energy is really not that much, and they seem to be moving the rewards higher and higher. And usually there aren't actually that many good things in a Dungeon Divers anyway. If you think like a really big champion training, you can get like a legendary tome or like a decent kind of, not just books, but
Yeah.
like what's it called, Soulstones and stuff. You get like good stuff in the champion training tournaments. And then if you think you get like an epic tome in just a dungeon tournament, and you can usually complete those without using any gems, etc.
Yeah.
You'll never complete a single Dungeon Divers without using additional resources, ever. Like,
Yeah, I've definitely
you may,
felt that. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's very intensive to get to those final ones. Like, even for me, I always tend to not like the champion training on my main account, but on the free to play, I feel like it's one of the best things because all you're doing is training champions, right? So you're just basically getting free resources for stuff that you're doing anyway, in a sense.
exactly, and
Yeah.
it's, I would say those champion training tournaments, or really more the event side, it's the only book farm that exists in the game. Like it's the only way to reliably get legendary books outside of, Ultra Nightmare or something that's kind of, shall we say, locked behind
Yeah.
having gear and champions and having an account that can complete the content. A champion training, you can complete that as soon as you have someone who can farm 12-3.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, just literally get in there, farm up your food. So do you kind of like save up all of your champions for just events, or are you farming in between those as well at the moment?
So, I mean, I've basically been farming food pretty much up until now. The first thing I did that wasn't farming food would have been the spider tournament that we just had, and I was
Okay.
in Spider 10 doing that. But otherwise, I've only been farming food. But I have been concentrating when I do that to
Yeah.
overlap with champion training. So there's lots of energy that we get. We get the free refill each or every other day, just as the mini mix, not the mini mix pack, whatever it's called, the appreciation pack, I think it's called.
Yeah.
So we get that free one every other day. Plus, when you do certain tournaments, you can just leave the rewards and collect them when you want. And if you don't collect them by the time the event disappears, it actually goes to your inbox for 6 days as well. So you can really extend when you pick those energy rewards. So things like the tag team arena tournament or the classic arena tournaments. These are basically free energy you get just for playing a bit of the game. Where you're using no resources to acquire them. And then I just keep them and then use them when it will get me some additional return, basically. Like you say, that kind of double dip mentality.
I know everybody hates that term. Remember on stream? The triple dip is the worst one.
Exactly.
But all right, yeah, that's some really good tips. I guess that we should just wrap up the video here. I feel like we covered a lot in today's video. Guys, we are going to be heading over to Eharbad's channel in the next week or so, maybe next weekend. So make sure you guys go drop a sub. I'll kind of put that in the description below when the link does go live and all of that good stuff. And yeah, any final words here before we wrap things up, bro?
Just good luck, may the best man win.
I don't know what we're trying to win at this point. It just seems like a crazy fest, but yeah, appreciate it, man. But yeah, guys, if you did enjoy the video, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button as always, and head over to Eharbad once again. It will all be in the description below, and we'll catch you guys on a video soon. Peace.